Some doors do not open because you've not had enough. They open only because of favor. My name is Phenomenal Jennifer. Welcome to my channel. This is a channel where we share everything around faith, family, purpose. We learn, unlearn, and relearn. I'm happy to be back on your screens again. And like I promised in my previous video, this is a season of consistency. And so every week I'm going to be showing up here to share little bits of my life lessons and some of the things that God has taught me, that has brought me so far in life, because I know that it would be a blessing to you, whether you're just a young person out there trying to navigate life and to, discover your purpose, or you're an elderly person who is trying to understand, life in general and to make better choices. Thank you for sticking around. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, because this is how you support us on this platform of YouTube. And so today I'm going to be sharing a life story with you as to how favor helped me, in my career path and my career journey. A couple of years ago, I was in dear need of a change of level. I have worked in my line of career for a few years, and then I got to a point where it became so burdensome that I needed a change of level, to be able to scale and to move forward. Right. And so at that time, the particular job I had at the time became so burdensome. I was doing very well, performing very well, but then all of a sudden, it began to look like my performances, the best that I was bringing to the table, was not good enough. And then something inside of me kept telling me that it was time to move on, but I didn't have the courage to at the time. Eventually, I summoned the courage and then I resigned. And then, of course, I moved on. I resigned with no backup plan. But then I knew that, God, who gave me that confidence and who gave me the instruction to move on, to resign, had better plans for me. And so when I resigned, I started job hunting for something better. And then while I was job hunting, I was trusting God now to be able to earn in six figures. It wasn't forthcoming. It wasn't forthcoming because I wasn't looking at the right places, but because I had not totally understood what favor does. But along the line, I got to realize that in the game of life, right, there are a lot of people who are not as qualified as you are, a lot of people who do not even have the experience that you have, but for some reason, they are earning better, they live better, their quality of life is way, way better than yours. What is that distinctive factor that makes a difference? And then God began to teach me, and then I began to understand that as a child of God, there is something called favor. And until you become conscious of it, until you begin to pray consciously about it to activate it over your life, you would continue to eat crumbs. No shades, right? Um, and then God began to teach me, and then I stumbled on Psalm 5 verse 12, which says, "For surely, note the emphasis. Surely, I'm going to put that scripture on the screen. For surely God will bless the righteous, and with favor will He encompass the righteous as a shield." When I came across this scripture, I began to pray with it. I began to meditate on it. I began to speak it into my existence. And in no time, the right opportunities showed up. I'd applied for a couple of jobs, did a couple of interviews, and there was no one getting back to me, in a positive regard. But I was trusting God this time that I wanted to begin to earn in six figures. And then one day, a friend reached out to me that a company from Canada had reached out to her, that they were looking for a recruiter. For emphasis, I'm a human resource specialist, but I started off in recruitment. And that they were looking for a recruiter who would help them, recruit healthcare workers if I was interested, because she wasn't interested at the time. She had like, a job already outside of the country, was earning in, foreign currency, and she was okay. And I was like, why not? Because healthcare has always been like my niche, something I really love to do, you know. And so I, I indicated interest, and then she had moved my details forward to the employer. And then the employer reached out to me, had just a chat. For emphasis, this wasn't even an interview, it was just like a chit chat. It wasn't like the interviews, the regular ones. As a recruiter, I know what interviews can be, where you have to pass your first stage, second stage, third stage, and all of that. This was just a chat, with the CEO and one other person within the organization who I think was the HR manager at the time. And after that chat, I got the offer. when the offer letter was sent to me and I saw the hourly rate I was going to be paid, I actually thought it was a joke. But then I started the job. When I started the job and I got my first paycheck in six figures, and then I began to understand that truly favor is the distinctive factor. And then when I also worked in that organization, I saw a lot of people who were underqualified, quote and unquote, right? Who were not even up to the educational level standard, to do that kind of job. And they were working in that organization. They were on that job and in six figures. So I'm just here to tell you, whoever cares to listen, that there is something called favor. And favor is actually God adding flavor to whatever it is that you do. So in whatever you do as a person, as a young person, as a career person, as a business person, as a family person, always pray for favor. You can use Psalm 5 verse 12 as your anchor scripture. There is actually something called favor that distinguishes people in the sphere of life. I hope this video has been a blessing to you. If it has, please like, share. Remember to subscribe. You can also turn on the notification button so that every time we post a video, you will be the first person to be notified. Thank you so much for sticking around with us on this journey. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye for now.